Welcome back, everyone, to another Fifth Bridge Sports video. So here we're doing fantasy management for your fantasy basketball teams. In this video, we're going to be talking about players to add as well. So we're going to start off here with games played for each NBA team. So we have however many games each NBA team's playing. So this is a great reference to use if you're looking at picking up a player just for this week. Teams to avoid are the Nuggets and Mavericks. They're only playing 2 games this week, so I'd avoid picking up players on those teams. Next here as well, we were showing the total games played by day. So no games on Thursday with it being American Thanksgiving. Tuesday and Sunday are kind of lower games for 4 and 5. We showed the teams here playing on Tuesday as well if you want to factor that into who you're picking up. It's harder to get players on those low volume game days, so just something to think about there too.
That being said, best teams for fantasy this week will be the Pistons and the Lakers. That is because there are a low number of games on Tuesday and Sunday, and both teams are playing on those days. This means that you are less likely to have roster conflicts, and you can play as many players as you want from these teams. And again, they have 4 games, lots of opportunities to get points. Moving on to players to be rostered, our suggestions for this week. We're starting off with Nerlens Noel. He's being rostered 51%, although that number is probably a little off because he's coming off of injury. He is currently ranked 321st in the Yahoo Fantasy. Again, this will climb pretty quickly because he's back to play. He's averaged quite poorly in the last bit with 5 points, 4 rebounds, which is relatively quite high, and about almost 2 steals and just over a block. Good defensive player. He'll add some numbers. He averages around 21 fantasy points. Good to have on your team. Next up, we got Devin Vassell. He is being rostered 48%. He was very solid to me. I picked him up a couple weeks ago, and he has been putting up like 29 fantasy point games. The other day, he put up 18 points off the bench. He has only 3 games this week, so maybe not pick him up, but hold him off for later. He's pretty good, and he's ranked quite high too. Next up, we got Pat Connaughton with 35%. In one of the best teams in the league right now, he plays for the Bucks. He averages 22 fantasy points. There's some analysis into his playtime. He's getting about like 29 minutes a game, which is quite high for a bench player. He's been playing since Middleton returned, so we are thinking maybe he's going to be part of the starting or the top 8 rotation for the Bucks. So pick him up if you can.
Nice. Okay, after that, we have Killian Hayes. He's currently ranked 179th on Yahoo. He's had some big games recently, and this week alone, he has 4 games. His role seems to be increasing. He's a starter, and the signs are pointing to something good. After him, we have Cody Martin. Cody Martin was featured on a video a couple weeks back, so I won't say too much about him, but he's managed to stay fantasy relevant. He's currently ranked 114th, and he continues to find minutes. Cedi Osman, currently rostered in 12% of leagues, is someone to watch. The Cavs have had some injuries recently to Jarrett Allen and Markkanen. So if those injuries persist, if they're not in the upcoming week, for sure you add Cedi Osman. He'll put up some big games. If they do come back, he's worth looking at anyways, since he's been putting up decent numbers, and in the, I guess, compared to players that are in the 12% rostered range, he has the most upside.
All right, next I have Isaiah Hartenstein, so rostered in 11% of leagues. So he's been coming off the bench for the Clippers and recently has put up some really relevant fantasy games on the season. He's averaging 7.8 points, 5.3 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 0.9 steals, 1.1 blocks. So he's really filling it up all over the stat sheet. Has really been relevant, and I think he's definitely a guy worth picking up, especially for some of those rosters who have tough time getting value at the power forward and center positions. He's someone I'd be looking at. Brandon Clark's the next one we have here, rostered in 8% of fantasy leagues, coming off the bench for the Memphis Grizzlies, has a consistent role, has been getting good minutes there as well. 7.1 points, 1.3 assists, 3.9 rebounds, 0.4 steals, zero point 0.8 blocks. Definitely someone I'd be looking at picking up if you just want someone, you know what you're going to get from him. So next we have Cody Martin's brother, Caleb Martin, playing on the Miami Heat. Coming off the bench, he's been able to give some good value there recently. 5.5 points, 0.6 assists, 2.8 rebounds, 0.9 steals, 0.5 blocks. He's been putting up some fantasy games above 20 fantasy points recently. So considering how low he's rostered, if you want someone who's able to give you some production at that kind of low rostered range, should be someone who's available and worth picking up in most leagues. But yeah, one more point I'll actually mention with Isaiah Hartenstein. So with him being on the Clippers, Serge Ibaka's return to basketball might be on the horizon. So that is something that we could see affecting his value in the interim. But yeah, that's everything we wanted to talk about for players to be rostered in this video. So thank you for watching, everyone, and we'll see you in another video.
Stay safe, everyone.